Welcome back to another episode of Born from the Stars. I'm your host, Jessie, taking a live Rencounter, and I'm really happy that you're joining me here today again for another episode. For my followers that are starting to follow all my episodes and such, I want to say a special shout out to you, a special thank you for joining me and supporting my podcast. Today's topic I want to talk about is energy and the connection between our ancient beliefs as Native people as well as science today, because there's always a connection. I'm a big believer that we're always looking at the same thing from different lenses, from whether that's from a spiritual and cultural lens or from a science lens. So I want to talk about energy. So our Lakota word, specifically Lakota word for it, that we have talked about, and there's a phrase that we use that helps us understand this. And there's a story behind this that I heard growing up. So they talk about how this man was sitting by a tree and he was by himself and he started realizing that there was something that was causing things to happen. There was the wind, there was trees, the leaves that were rustling, and also things that were causing the trees to grow, the plants to grow. And this word, this phrase came to him, this idea about this. There is like a spiritual power or energy that causes movement of everything, that not only is it out in nature, but it's also within us as well too. Something causes our heart to beat. Something causes our hair to grow, for us to grow and such. And this term that our people have used since then is, we call it Dakush Gashka. So it's the spiritual power or the energy that causes the movement of everything. And so when we utilize this and we have this type of thinking, and we start to realize that everything is connected, that whatever this Dakush Gashka is causing movement and energy through all of us, through all living things that it's causing. So we have this type of mentality, this philosophy for thousands of years in understanding this and respecting this as well too. And we utilize this teaching, this knowledge when we had our ceremonies, when we had, our some of our medicine men and some of our medicine women, our healers, when they would help with illnesses and sicknesses. And the belief is that, everything has a spirit or energy, right? Including illnesses and sicknesses as well too. So when these medicine women and men would doctor others, they were moving that energy out of their bodies. And it's not just amongst our native people. This goes for people and cultures all around the world, indigenous people that had this knowledge as well too. So it's a movement of energy that is in your body that's not meant to be there. So Dagush Kashka is the foundation to a lot of things in life. So from our ceremonies to our singing, when you hit that drum, there's a vibration that comes from it. When we dance and we move our body, we're moving our energy as well too. When we pray with our water, we're putting good energy into that water. Pray over our food, we're putting good energy into that food as well too. My one of my late grandfathers, I never got to meet him. My my late father used to talk about how this teaching stuck with him, and then he taught us, me and my siblings, this as well. And this sticks with me as well too. It's why we continue to say a meal prayer, even if we're out at a restaurant, even if we're going to be eating some fast food, we say this prayer. So my dad said that he said his grandfather talked about how when he goes into a restaurant, that sometimes he tries to take his own plasticware, his own spoon or fork, or if not, then the best he can do is he can pray over not only that food, but also that silverware as well. He says, we don't know whose mouths these have gone into. And we're not talking just about germs. What he was talking about was more on a spiritual level, on an energy level, because there's people that have done really um, horrible things, really bad, almost evil things, um, and they carry that energy with them, and then they put that into their mouth, and that energy is stuck on that. He says, so even though you wash it and you clean it, he says that energy is still there. And so he would always try his best to, if he didn't have a fork, his own fork with him or a spoon with him, that he would always um, pray over that to cleanse it and to bless it and such. And so that foundation, those teachings were always amongst our people way back then, long time ago. And even with my late great grandfather and such, and my dad, um he carried himself in this way. He had this big belief. And you think about like smudging, what we are as native people do, the teachings behind that is that we cleanse not only our bodies and our hair when we do that, but we cleanse our space, our living space, our homes, our offices, our workplaces, or wherever it is. And we always make sure we do this too right before ceremony, so it gets us in that good mood that cleanses any energy, any negative energy that might be there. It cleanses it away and such. So, this dakush gashka, this teaching that everything is energy, that there's something sacred, there's something spiritual and beautiful that is causing things to move and such. That's the foundation, our teaching for a lot of our our ways that our indigenous people have had. Now, when I say that science is now finally catching up to all these ancient teachings from our indigenous people amongst here in Turtle Island, but all over the world, a lot of people like to have this phrase of, oh, I'll believe it when I see it, right? They need proof. And that's what science does. And that's okay, because sometimes people, they have to do that. Our Lakota teaching and philosophy, our thought process is backwards. It's the right way. My dad used to say that the original way is we will see it when we believe it. So um, when people say I'll believe it when I see it, right? That's backwards. But the original way is we're going to see it happen when we have that belief there first. So when we do that, we have intentions of changing things, of healing our bodies, or healing other people, or whatever that is, reaching a goal. We have to have that belief in place first. Then we're going to see the outcome. Today in mainstream society, they say it backwards. Oh, well, I'll believe it when I see it. So here comes in science that helps those people that think backwards that way. So what science, and there's hundreds, if not thousands, of studies now that have been working with energy and showing this, how everything is energy. So when we see particles and such, on an atomic level, we think that um, we're going to be able to see that everything on a uh, on a atomic level is energy. And when we're sitting on a chair, the chair you're maybe sitting on, or the car seat that you're sitting on, or the floor that you're standing on, we think that it's solid. But when we go deeper, when science takes a look at this stuff and they study and they go study all these little particles, they realize that this physical um, thing that we thought was just it's just energy and motion. And so the chair that you're sitting on is just a bunch of energy. They're a bunch of atoms that are packed together into a certain way. So I'm going to reference the philosophy, the thought idea of some of our relatives on the other side of the world. Some of our Asian relatives, they work a lot with energy. They can move things with their hands and their minds and such. And that deeper ancient teaching was with them as well too, how everything is energy and we can manipulate that as well too. So everything that is around you that you think is physical It is all energy. It's all packed densely together to create that object, to create that illusion that it's a physical thing. And everything that is created, whether it's a couch or a car that you're sitting in, or a pen that you're holding, or a book that's in your hand, a chair you're sitting on, even the shoes on your feet, everything was once somebody's idea. And those ideas turned into that physical creation that you have right there. And we can think of it on a broader picture. Think back now, spiritual lens on our creator, our Wakantanka, our our Tunkashala, or whatever you want to call it, universe, and such, had this same idea to create you. You are a spirit in a physical body. And even our physical bodies, that's still wrong when I say a physical body, but it's a body that you're using to experience this physical, quote, physical world and such. And Creator had this idea to create you, to create you as a spirit, to create your physical body, your quote physical body and such. And so when you think of it on that spiritual lens and such, it kind of almost gives you chills. It gives you this feeling of overwhelming love of like, wow, Creator took the time and had the idea to create me. And that thought alone is just, whew, it's beautiful. It's it humbles you and such. And you feel so much love just in that thought alone, that you were thought of, that you were created from our creator with purpose. Now, when we think about how everything is energy, we take this into our experiences as well too on another level. We're specifically talking about our emotions, our feelings and such. Those are also energy as well too. It's energy coming into your space, into your physical body, into your energy space as well too. And we've all experienced many different emotions, from complete bliss of happiness and gratitude and laughter and love and so forth, to low vibrating energy of jealousy, of anger, of sadness, despair, fear. All of those are not who you are. That's just energy that has come into your energetic field, that your spirit is experiencing, your quote physical body is experiencing as well too. And because it's not who we are, that it's just a temporary experience that we're experiencing that energy with, we can move from that as well too. I'll give you a few ways that we can do that anytime, anywhere and such. One is breathing. It's a breathing exercise. Some of my listeners, if you have been following me, you're going to know that I'm a dreamer, that I have messages that have come to me from an old man, a helper from an old man, and also a woman that has come as well too. These two people always come. And one thing that one of the dreams, and multiple dreams actually, this old man has shared with me is he talked about how our breath is sacred. um, and my dad used to say this as well too when he was alive. He goes, our breath is very special. It's very waka, very sacred and such. And this old man shared this with me in a dream. And he talked about how, he says, when we're alive, we have this breath in us. And sometimes we take for granted, but it keeps us alive in this physical realm, quote, physical realm, to experience this. And he says, in my dream, I was witnessing a lady have a panic attack. And he told me, he says, and I was trying to help her with my hands with moving energy. I could see the sicknesses, illnesses, and such that were in her body. And I was trying to help her with Reiki, is what we call it. It's movement of energy. And he said, that's good that you're wanting to help. And that's going to help her temporarily. He says, but the main way and the biggest way that she's going to be helped is when she does it, when she breathes out that illness and that sickness. And I was really confused in my dream. I was like, what? And he says, because we have breath, he says, we're alive. You're alive and you're experiencing that. He said, our breath is sacred. And he says, we can breathe things out. And he says, tell her to breathe. And so I told that lady, I couldn't get to her. I told her, I said, breathe it out. Slow yourself down. You're breathing down and breathe it out. And I said, imagine all that pain, that hurt and such coming out of your body. And so when she did this in my dream, I saw that energy, those traumas that she had experienced over her lifetime that had settled into illnesses, diseases, and such, that how they were being shaken up and they were causing some bad anxiety in her and was causing her to like breathe shallow and such. And so when she slowed her breath down and I told her to breathe it out, I saw how those traumas, the energy that were packed densely and turned into illnesses and diseases, I saw how those started to move. And I saw them come out of her mouth. And I was amazed. And then I told her, this old man told me, tell her when you breathe in to breathe in that fresh, cleansed air. And so when she breathed it in, I saw it. I saw how it happened and such. And I was like, whoa, this is like, it changed my whole view on people. Because then we start walking, we start seeing um, everyone walking around, and it didn't matter what color skin they had. I like to think bodies as our avatars in this world. I didn't matter what color their avatar was, their skin, if they were male or female, or how old they were, how long they've been on this earth. Everybody had them walking around, and it didn't matter if they were dressed nicely and had lots of money or not. A lot of people had these. Some had more than others. And I was like, oh my goodness. And I started observing this and I was like, we don't take the time to realize how important that is. How these aches and pains, illnesses, sicknesses, diseases, how they have turned into, manifested into these um, packed, dense energies that are making us sick. And I was like, I'm never gonna view people the same. Right. And there's another part to this dream that I'm going to share with you later on in a different podcast, and the reason why he shared this with me. But I wanted to share that part, a sneak peek of that part. But I was like, oh my gosh, this made sense. So our breath, and we talk about like breathing exercises now with practices like yoga, mindfulness, and such. And other cultures all around the world, all relatives have had this amongst their people for many years as well too, about the importance of breath. And so after that dream, I had woke up and I googled breathing, and I came across this whole healing modality of breath work. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay, this is exactly what he was talking about. This is what he means. Oh my goodness. And so breathing is an opportunity for us to move that energy out. And so I just want to show you real quick, and you can do this 3 times, 4 times, or however many times you want to do this on your own. But I want to share with you, when we breathe in, we want to breathe in through our nose like we're smelling flowers, or we're smelling a bundle of sage or whatever it is. We want to breathe that in through our nose. And I use the number 3. We can use, like, let's use the number 4. Okay, we want to breathe it in for 4 seconds, and then we want to hold it, and allow yourself to, when you're breathing it in, to imagine fresh, clean air coming into your body, and then hold it for 6 seconds. Hold your breath for 6 seconds, and just allow that breath to cleanse every cell and part of your body. And then when we breathe out, we're going to breathe out through our mouth. We're going to breathe out slowly for 8 seconds. And the reason why I say we breathe out longer is because it allows the opportunity to breathe out those dense packed energy areas of pain, of illness, sicknesses, diseases, and so forth. So we're emptying out our energy space from that. And the funny, cool, wild thing is that people who practice these healing modalities of breath work, that's what they say. You breathe out longer than you breathe in because you're emptying out that space. So it's it's pretty amazing how connected all these teachings are. So let's practice together. We're going to breathe in for 4, we're going to hold it for 6, and then we're going to release for 8. Okay? Let's go together. And inhale. Hold. Exhale. And that's how we can do a breathing exercise to ground ourselves and to rid ourselves from that energy that we no longer want in our body. We want to do that at least a minimum of 3 times in a row. And you can do that longer. You can do that 6 or 7 times to really ground yourself as well too. Speaking of grounding, the our ancestors about this energy. They knew that Unchimaka, a grandmother earth, vibrates and has an energy at the perfect level that we're all supposed to be at. Animals, the horses, our dogs, and so forth, they have this as well too. They their energy level vibrates at the perfect level. And trees and plants, they also know this. They're tuned into that because they don't carry the stress like we do. They don't carry they don't hang on to the traumas like we do. Give you an example. You ever see your dog, or even let's use another example, a deer or an antelope, and it's running and it's stressed out from a predator. And then finally it reaches safety, it shakes itself out. It does a little shake and it grounds itself and it releases all that stress. For some reason, as humans, we tend to hang on to that stress, and unfortunately we find ourselves in stressful situations, a mind frame all the time. You can find be in any situation, but it's your mind frame on how we interpret that situation in that moment. And so you can be driving your car and you can be so stressed out, or you can even be laying in your bed. Let's use that example. Even laying in your bed where you're safe and sound, but because your mind is playing through all these stresses of the what ifs of the future, or also replaying some traumas from the past, your body does not know if it's experiencing or if it's real. It just thinks it's real. So your body's tensed up and it's in that stressed out space there. And so it's important that we are able to be aware of that, to be cognizant of whether or not we are putting unnecessary stress into our body with that energy of stress, of worrying or resentment or anger from the past, or whatever it is. So going back to the grounding again, I circled back, but going back to the grounding, our people, our ancestors, and from our culture as Native people, but from also all over the world, they knew about this and how important it was to connect to Unchimaka, to the earth. Our Lakota ancestors, they're always in touch with Grandmother Earth. We, specifically our Lakota people, slept in teepees on the ground with buffalo robes and such. And that energy was able to come into their bodies. They're always constantly in touch with Grandmother Earth. And then moccasins, our moccasins help to stay in touch as well. And when we wear our modern day shoes today, they're made of synthetic materials, rubber or whatever it is. And that's not natural materials. It's man-made. And so it prevents that energy from Mother Earth, Grandmother Earth, coming into the bottom of our feet. And we don't get that energy. We don't get grounded. My late father used to say, if we're wearing our tennis shoes outside, he said, at least go connect to a tree. Go put your hand on a tree and allow that tree's energy to come into you. And so my dad, when he was outside, if he was doing yard work or outside, he would try to wear his moccasins as much as possible because this is what his grandparents taught him. In Lakota, they would always tell him, you know, when you're outside, go barefoot. Takoja, grandchild, go barefoot or, you know, um, wear your moccasins. And he didn't understand until he got a little bit older and they this and described to him about how Unchimaka has that beautiful energy. It's medicine for us. And it helps us. It helps our minds, our bodies, and our spirits and such. And now science, here we are again. Okay, science is now finally catching up to this. Science was able to recently, with different studies, show that Earth has an energy that helps us. And so you've probably seen maybe commercials on TV or on your social media ads and such talking about grounding shoes and grounding sheets and how they have this electrical charge. You plug it in and such for the sheets, and you wake up feeling refreshed. And the shoes that they have, grounding shoes, they're not made from the synthetic material. They actually have like a little copper area thing in them that helps, that charge from the earth come into your feet and such. And so it's like, okay, science is now catching on to this ancient knowledge that our people knew for eons and eons of time. And so we think, oh yeah, the latest Nikes or Asics or On Clouds or whatever, these are cool, and they are cool, but they're also preventing us from connecting with Grandmother Earth. So that's just a reminder, if you have an opportunity to go outside without shoes, spring, summer, fall, whatever, connect to the ground and such. And then when it's cold in the winter, go touch a tree. Like my dad said, touch a tree and connect with that tree to ground you. It'll fill your body, your energy start feeling a lot better when you have that connection. Same thing with like animals. A lot of people have like lap dogs or cats and such, and you hear like the purrs from the cat or whatever. Um, it grounds them. It helps them. You see like dogs through airports, and they say like therapy dog or something, right? It's these people who have become reliant on their four-legged relative to help them. We all have the capability to ground ourselves, right? There's no I'm not throwing shots at anyone who needs a therapy dog, because a lot of people have gone through so much trauma um, that nobody has helped them teach them these things. And so they rely on that relative to help them, and that's okay. But eventually, we want them to be able to learn how to ground themselves without it. Because there's going to be times maybe that relative, that four-legged relative, might not be able to be there with them. So that's a little insight about that too as well. So grounding is important as well. We talked about smudging already, how that cleanses our air, our spaces, our bodies, and such. And you see, like when people smudge with their sage and such, they always make sure they put it in their hair. And our hair is like, my dad and my aunties that used to say, it's kind of like an extension of our spirit. That's why it's always important to take care of your hair. And like a long time ago, our teaching, we still try to practice that today. When we lose a loved one, cut your hair, because that has that connection and such with them, showing society you're in that state of mourning, of grieving. You lost a loved one who's passed on to the spirit world and went back home. So another one, and you can do this too, and I love doing this one. Try to do these all the time, but um, I try to find myself in a state of gratitude when you're feeling really those emotions, that energy of anger or stress or fear or whatever it is, whatever those low vibrating energy states are of the emotions. I try to reset myself by finding things that I'm grateful for. Even if I'm driving, I hang on to the steering wheel and I feel the steering wheel, and I'm grateful for the steering wheel of being able to maneuver and operate my car. And then my thoughts start to spiral in a good way. Oh my gosh, I'm thankful for this car for keeping me warm or cool or whatever it is and getting me to my destination. I'm really grateful for that because, I could be without a car, but I'm driving a car that's allowing me to get from place to place, to go pick up my loved one or to go to the store or whatever it is. And then if I'm going to the store and, I'm grateful that we have the opportunity to go and shop, to buy the food or whatever it is we're buying. And then you're paying for it instead of being stressed out and thinking, oh no, I'm losing money. You have this attitude of gratitude of like, oh my gosh, I am so grateful that I have this money available to pay for this product or to pay for this food that is going to benefit my family or whatever it is. Even just what I love to do, and it's changed my relationship with my husband, as I love to tell my husband how grateful I am for him, especially if like we're holding hands or and it's not me feeding his ego, that's me resetting myself, of realizing and putting on my lens of being able to see all my blessings. An attitude of gratitude will always shift you fast back into that state of vibrating at a higher energy of love and so forth. And so when we vibrate up here, oh my gosh, life just becomes so much more beautiful. I've started learning these tricks recently, and my life has changed tremendously. And the more I practice it, the more I'm realizing I'm being catapulted into a life that I love, that I'm grateful for. And so it takes some time, like you train a muscle when you go to the gym, right? It takes some time to train yourself to be able to practice that all the time, to be in a state of gratitude and to look at outside. And even if it's windy today, I'm thankful for the blue skies and the sunshine. Like, wow, it's so beautiful. Or for the fresh air, like, God, it's so beautiful to breathe in this fresh air that comes into my body, and to even just pause and thank Creator, God, Wakantaka, universe, whatever you want to call it, for creating you. Oh my gosh, I'm so grateful you created me, Creator. You didn't have to create me, but you created me with love. You created me with purpose. And it's just like, it melts away all your worries and your stress, and whatever you might have been upset with about before is now gone. And it makes you like recenter and go back to who we really are. That's who we are. That's who we've always been, as we've always been love and in this avatar that we're experiencing this quote physical world with. So remember, relatives, that you are not your emotions. The energy is at every level, um, and it's been a teaching for our indigenous people and other cultures around the world for thousands of years, and science is now proving this, and science is talking about this. But it's in us. It's in our DNA on a cellular level. It's in our spirit that we know that everything is energy, and such, and that on a way deeper level that we're all connected to all every human, to every living tree, plant, animal to Mother Earth, and that we all come from Creator. So, with that, my relatives, I want to close with reminding you that we're all love and we're all lights. And I want to encourage you to help others today and wherever you go to be that light for someone, to remind them of their beautiful lights, but also, even more importantly, not forget your own beautiful light. Allow yourself to shine bright, because when we do that, we allow others around us and it reminds them that they can shine bright as well too. Until next time, relatives, take care, shine bright, and midako ye iwase.